The history of French and Francophone relations I find very vexed and troubling. I think it's interesting, this idea that the CFA, the Francophone currency, is somehow tied to the French franc. I find that really retrograde. I think that the way that there's a kind of cultural power that France wields over Francophone Africa that I think is unhealthy. I think Francophone films are really French films in a way that's not the case in Anglophone West Africa. There is a kind of, I think the way that Anglophone Africans occupy their space in the UK is not the same way that Francophone Africans occupy their space in France. And, you know, and I think that Francophone Africans who know this, right? And maybe they should be the ones answering this question, because, you know, I know I read a bit about it, but I obviously I don't have a personal experience. But I also think that France has France has sort of a star president, the sort of French answer to Barack Obama, only not as tall, but so maybe that's a good thing for France. I think that there are people who probably wouldn't have cared about France, but because France sort of has this new president who seems interesting and shiny, people are a bit more interested in France. But I should say that my criticism when I started out, and I stand by it, it's because I've had many unpleasant experiences with French immigration. Yesterday was different because they were actually polite, but every time I have come into France, and it's happened, I'm going to say 4 or 5 times in the past 2 years, there is a kind of contempt with which I am dealt with when I present my Nigerian passport that I really find indefensible. And I think it's important because the immigration officers are the first line of contact with the country, and so it shapes the way you think of a country. And